Hi, I'm Graham Blackburn, and in today's episode of Traditional Woodworking by Hand, I've been framed. Many years ago, and we're talking 100, 200,000 years, the first saws were typically made out of chipped pieces of bone or stone, but they were basically a single blade. However, with the advent of a little more sophisticated metallurgy, we started making saws out of metal. Now, unlike the common hand saw that we've seen in previous episodes that consist of just a single blade, it wasn't until the middle of the 18th century that we developed the ability to make a saw that was thin enough to be practical, but thick enough that it wouldn't buckle. And in fact, to this very day, the Japanese, who make very good saws, their saws, although they're extremely good quality, they have to work on the pull stroke, because if they push, they buckle. Now, that's all very well for the Japanese, who traditionally typically work on the floor. They're pulling the sawdust into the floor. But if you try and use a Japanese saw working at a bench, then you're pulling the sawdust into the cuff. That's not as efficient as if you work on the push stroke. So most Western saws, most British and European saws, work on the push stroke. Before we got to that level of metallurgy where we could have a blade that would do that, for the last 500 years, most Western saws were what we now call framed saws. And you can see a selection here on the bench of all these different blades. Some are wider than others, but they all exist in a frame. Here's an example of a European frame saw. And it's simply, as I just said, it's a blade that is held between two arms, which are tightened by this business here. By turning this, then you can tension this and you can pull the blade. And this saw now becomes a really good saw for ripping. You can cross cut, you can rip like this, for which reason it has a relatively wide blade. A slightly different version is more typical of the British kind of frame saw, and this is called a bow saw because it looks a little more like a bow here. And this doesn't have the rope, but it has another equally common method of pulling these arms in and tensioning the blade. You just turn the turnbuckle here and this tightens the blade. What's useful about this in particular is that the blade is a whole lot thinner, which makes it more convenient if you have to saw not only straight lines, but if you want to saw around in curves. But also, if you look really closely, you'll see that the handles rotate. So I could turn the handles and now I can saw at an angle. This gives me more space if I'm trying to saw a piece of wood that's wider than the distance between the blade and the frame. These are the basic bench saws, or at least they were for 400 or 500 years until we invented the bandsaw, which I have to admit is, of all the machines that we've invented, probably my favorite. It's much quieter than a table saw or a jointer. It's much safer, and it can do all sorts of things. You can fit it with jigs. It's really the one power tool that I would recommend, even if you do want to go primarily with hand tools. Now, at the other end of the scale, we have a selection of smaller framing saws. This is known as a coping saw, and you can tighten the blade, and you can also, by pushing these levers here, you can also change the angle at which the saw works. So you can see I could come in here like this, tighten this up here, saw down here, and this is particularly good at following a line if I wanted to saw a curve. Now at this stage of the game I want to come up, so all I need to do is to turn the blade like this. Now I can saw up. Just a little example of what a coping saw will do. A coping saw, or a saw that looks like a coping saw that has a much deeper frame to it, and here I have two, these are typically known as fret saws. These are particularly good if you need to cut curves in complicated pieces of wood. Over here is a device that we showed in a previous episode that allows you to place the workpiece on top, assuming we wanted to cut the curve here. It gives us a support, and the way that this works is that you take a few downward strokes to establish the curve, and then using the V gouge in this you can follow the curve all the way around. I think you get the idea. For even larger pieces, then they make really big fret saws. These also have devices that allow you to turn the blade even though you have a lot of depth. One last little saw that is sometimes very useful in woodworking is what's known as the jeweler's saw. This is also a frame saw. It has a very thin blade, so it's especially good for very fine work. You can fit almost any length of blade in here, but by loosening this screw here, you can tighten or loosen the blade. So you might use that either on a piece of workpiece in the vise, or you might use that over here. So these are saws that are really good for really fine, delicate work. There's one last frame saw that you might have come across that before everybody and his uncle had a chainsaw was found in almost every country home, and that's what's known as the buck saw, because it was typically used on a sawbuck. Now that's an interesting term in itself. That derives from the Dutch word for a saw goat, a bok. And this, if you had a big piece of firewood, let's see if we can put a piece of, pretend that this was the sawbuck, we'd have this in the sawbuck like this. And this differs by having a much broader, wider blade, much bigger, and also having a handle. So that if you just got one or two pieces of firewood to saw up, this is a whole lot quicker, safer, and quieter than using a chainsaw. So there you have a brief explanation of all the different kinds of frame saws. If you want to know more about this, and there is quite a lot more, then I can recommend that you look at one of the many books that I've written, and there's a whole chapter on frame saws. And you can see both the original two-man saws, and you can see the European kind, the British kind, the coping saw, and you might find this interesting to get to. So thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something. I hope it made you aware of the fact that there's more ways than one of sawing a piece of wood. Don't forget to press the subscribe button, and by all means send some comments in, and tune in next time for our next episode.